I wasn't even out of my hoodie and gym shorts when Gail barged in with a laundry basket full of her crap and a voice loud enough to wake the whole damn neighborhood. "Oh, Ethan, be a sweetheart and carry this upstairs, would ya?" she shouted, already walking past me like I worked there. "My name's Ethan Hale. I'm 36, living in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. Quiet suburb, nice enough place. I work from home as an IT consultant. Decent money, flexible hours. I've built a good life for myself. I dress like I'm off the clock because, well, I usually am. Comfort's king. Quick note. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I married Sarah 8 years ago. She's smart, beautiful, and used to laugh at all my dumb jokes. We've had a solid run. But lately, things have felt off. Like I'm the only one rowing the boat while she and her family treat it like a damn cruise. Gail, her mom, is in our house more than I am. Loud, opinionated, always inviting herself over. And then there's Danny, Sarah's younger brother. Mid-30s, no job, no plan, just vibes and video games. He crashes here every other week, eats like a linebacker, and somehow I'm footing the bill. I didn't mind it at first. They're her family, so I played nice. But over time, helping out turned into covering rent for Danny's last apartment when he bailed, buying Gail a new washer because hers just died suddenly, and paying for dinners I never agreed to host. I didn't even get a thank you most times. Still, Sarah and I kept it together. She'd flash that smile, tell me how amazing I was, and I'd swallow the rest. I wanted to be the steady one, the guy she could rely on, but the weight was starting to stack up. So when she floated the idea of a surprise family vacation to Hawaii, her eyes lit up, voice fast with excitement. I said, "Sure, let's do it." I don't know why I said it. Maybe I just didn't want another fight. Maybe I thought it'd bring us closer. Or maybe I was just so used to fixing everything, I didn't know how to say no anymore. I figured a week in paradise might be worth the hit to my wallet and sanity. I had no idea what I was actually signing up for. Sarah clapped her hands like a kid on Christmas morning. "I'm serious, Ethan. Picture it. 7 days in Maui, toes in the sand, no work, just family and sunshine. Doesn't that sound perfect?" She looked up at me from across the kitchen island, eyes sparkling. I was halfway through my coffee, still in boxers, trying to figure out how to survive another Monday. My brain was already on fire with the meetings I had lined up. "I mean, it sounds nice," I said slowly. "But who exactly is just family?" She grinned. "You, me, Mom, Danny, obviously. And I was thinking maybe Aunt Rachel and Uncle Jim? Oh, and the twins. They've never even left the East Coast." I leaned against the counter, rubbing the back of my neck. "That's a lot of people, Sarah. It's a family trip," she said like that explained everything. Right then, Gail came strutting in, phone to her ear, her voice already in full broadcast mode. "Maui? Now that's what I'm talking about. I could use a vacation. Lord knows I deserve one." Sarah turned to me. "See? Even Mom's excited." Of course she was. Anything with a price tag she didn't have to cover got her stamp of approval. I didn't say no. I wanted to. God, I should have. But instead I nodded and muttered, "Let me look into it." Within 24 hours, I was deep in the logistics hellhole, checking hotel packages, comparing flight bundles, setting up group texts with people I barely remembered from our wedding guest list. My laptop looked like a travel agent's dashboard. And in between, I was still juggling client calls, chasing invoices, and managing a software migration for a company in Denver that couldn't stop changing their damn specs. Every time I paused, I'd catch Sarah whispering with Gail or giggling with her cousin Becky about what they were going to wear on the boat tour. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out how to book a rental van big enough for 12 people that didn't cost the same as a kidney. Danny never once offered to help. Not with planning, not with money. But he sure had opinions, texting me links to resorts with swim-up bars and asking if we'd be hitting any clubs. A week in, I dropped over $5,000 on deposits. No one had asked me what I wanted to do in Hawaii. No one even asked if I was okay footing the whole bill. Still, I told myself it was worth it. Sarah deserved to be happy. She said this trip would mean a lot to her, that she wanted everyone together for once. I didn't want to be the guy who always pushed back. So I powered through. Found a beachfront house with 7 bedrooms. Booked excursions. Made a Google Doc for the itinerary and sent it out to everyone. Sarah kissed me on the cheek that night, curled up next to me on the couch. You're the best, babe. Seriously. None of this would happen without you. I smiled, but it felt empty. It wasn't a compliment. It was confirmation. I was the one who made things happen. And they all knew it. It started with a joke from Gail. She was in our kitchen again, elbows deep in a bag of chips, when she laughed and said, "Well, lucky for us, the bank of Ethan's always open." She cackled, like she'd just delivered a killer punchline. Sarah didn't even blink. I paused, holding my coffee halfway to my mouth. "What did you just call me?" "Oh, sweetie, relax. I meant it as a compliment," she said, brushing crumbs off her shirt. "You're the one making all this magic happen." I looked at Sarah. She gave me a tight smile and went right back to slicing lemons like nothing happened. That was the moment I felt it shift. They weren't just excited about the trip. They expected it. Like I was just the guy with the credit card making their dream week happen. Gratitude? Not even in the rear view. A few days later, Sarah walked in while I was on a Zoom call and dropped a new name on me. "Oh, by the way, I invited Shelby and Kara. You remember them, right? From book club?" "Book club?" I muted my mic. "Wait, are they family now too?" She rolled her eyes. "They've been through a rough year. Shelby's divorce, Kara's job loss. They could really use this." "Sarah, I don't even know these people." "Well, I do. And it's not like they're asking for much. They'll just stay in the same room as the twins." I stared at her, and she just walked off like the conversation was over. By the end of that week, I was managing bookings for 15 people, some of whom I hadn't even met. Every time I updated the spreadsheet, someone else got added. Meanwhile, Sarah and Gail kept whispering in the other room. Literally whispering. I'd walk in and they'd go quiet, exchanging that look like teenagers caught talking crap. When I asked what was going on, Sarah would just say, "We're figuring out the fun stuff. Don't worry about it." That line right there, "don't worry about it," was the one that really got under my skin. Because guess what? I was already doing all the worrying. About the money, the logistics, the time off, the gaslighting. I asked her one night while we were in bed, "Why am I the only one paying for this?" Sarah didn't look up from her phone. "You're not. Mom's helping with the groceries." I sat up. "Groceries? That's your idea of pitching in?" She shrugged. "You always say you want everyone to have a good time. That's what we're doing." That wasn't what I said. I never said I wanted to bankroll a Hawaiian resort for half of her family tree and a couple of strays. But somehow, every time I pushed back, I ended up feeling like the bad guy. The joy killer. The cheap husband who couldn't take a little generosity. It got to the point where I'd open my laptop and feel sick. The itinerary was a joke. I didn't even know who I was booking anymore. Gail had thrown in a deep-sea fishing tour. Danny requested jet skis. Becky texted me a link to some luau experience and added, "Can you book this for me?" Not please. Not how much does it cost. Just, "Can you book this for me?" I was invisible. Not even a person. Just the guy behind the scenes making everyone's fantasy island week come true. The worst part? I kept going. Because every time I looked at Sarah, I remembered how excited she was when she first pitched the idea. I kept thinking, maybe once we get there, maybe once we're on that beach with drinks in our hands, it'll all be worth it. I was dead wrong. But back then, I told myself I could power through. I just had to survive it. 2 weeks out from the trip, Gail texted me, "Family dinner at my place tonight. Just us. Bring wine." I already knew what that meant. Loud voices, too much food, and some kind of ask buried under fake smiles. But I showed up anyway, like always. As soon as I walked through the door, it hit me. The noise, the smell of 5 different dishes cooking at once, the TV blaring in the background, and kids, nieces, nephews, whoever, sprinting barefoot through the living room like it was a track meet. Sarah stood in the kitchen, stirring something, eyes locked on the pot like it was more important than me walking in. "Hey!" I said, putting the wine on the counter. She barely looked up. Hey, she muttered. That was strike one. I stepped into the dining room and Gail swooped in with a fake grin, holding out a glass of something pink and strong smelling. There's our favorite man. Sit down, relax. Let me take care of you tonight, she said, her voice syrupy. I sat, but my gut told me something was off. The chair next to me creaked as Sarah finally joined me, folding her napkin way too slowly. Dinner rolled out like a buffet line. Pot roast, mac and cheese, a weird spinach casserole no one touched, and way too much cornbread. Everyone talked over each other. Gail told a long-winded story about her Zumba instructor. Danny complained about corporate slavery while shoveling mashed potatoes. And then, right as I was cutting into a slice of ham, Gail dropped it. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you, Rick's coming to Hawaii for a few days. Just the tail end of the trip. Fork halfway to my mouth. I froze. Rick, I said, flat. Sarah looked down at her plate. Gail just kept talking. Yeah, you remember Rick. Such a sweet guy. He happened to mention he'd be in Maui for a friend's wedding the same week, so we figured, why not? It's just a couple of days. I turned to Sarah. You invited your ex-boyfriend? She finally met my eyes. It's not a big deal. Not a big. I stopped myself. My jaw locked. This is the same guy who showed up drunk to our wedding and made a scene at the reception. That was years ago, she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. He's changed, and it's not like he's staying in our house. He'll be at a hotel. I looked around the table. No one else seemed fazed. Like this was totally normal. Gail jumped back in. It's Hawaii, Ethan. We're not gonna start policing the whole damn island, are we? I looked back at Sarah. You didn't think to run this by me? She scoffed, sipping her drink. You're overreacting. It's just a vacation. Don't overthink it. Overreacting. There it was again. Like my discomfort didn't matter. Like I was the one making things weird for not wanting to spend my vacation across the island from the guy who once cornered Sarah in a bar 3 months after we were engaged and told her she was settling. I sat back in my chair, staring at the half-eaten food in front of me. The room didn't feel warm anymore. Felt tight, trapped. Sarah leaned in, whispering, Can you not make a scene? I didn't say a word, just picked up my glass and drained it, because if I opened my mouth again, I wasn't sure what would come out. Before I could finish my drink, Gail kept going, like she was reading off some unhinged guest list. Oh, and we've invited David too, Sarah's high school sweetheart. You'll love him, Ethan. Such a great guy. I set the glass down a little harder than I meant to. It clinked loud against the table. David, I said, staring at her. Sarah's hand froze halfway to her fork. She didn't look up. Yeah. David, Gail said, waving her fork like this was just a casual fun fact. He's already got his flight booked. Flying in from Phoenix, I think. I turned to Sarah, voice low. What the hell is this? She finally met my eyes, just barely. It's not a big deal. I laughed short, bitter. Not a big deal? You've got both your ex-boyfriends on our anniversary trip and you didn't think to bring it up? It's not our anniversary trip, she snapped. It's a family vacation. You mean the vacation I planned? I paid for? And apparently don't even get a say in anymore? Ethan? She exhaled like I was the one being unreasonable. David's staying at a different place. He's only coming for 3 days. Why is he coming at all? Gail jumped back in like she couldn't help herself. Because he's part of the group now, honey. We're all adults. It's not like they're trying to get back together. I looked at Sarah again. You're okay with this? She shrugged. It's just a small change. A small change. Rick, the drunk wedding crasher, and David, the guy she still manages to bring up every few months when talking about what could have been, were apparently small changes. Dinner kept going like none of this was insane. People passed dishes, laughed about vacation outfits, and debated over snorkeling versus ziplining. I sat there, silent, chewing on cold potatoes and chewing even harder on the urge to flip the damn table. When it was finally over, I waited until we got in the car. She buckled her seatbelt, and I sat there staring at the dashboard. You didn't even ask me, I said. She looked out the window. I knew you'd say no. Yeah, I snapped. Because it's a garbage idea. Ethan, you're blowing this way out of proportion. It's not like I invited them to our room. You invited them to our trip. That's enough. It's a vacation. You're being sensitive. There it was again. Dismissal. That tone like I was a child whining over something petty. I work my ass off to make this happen, I said, gripping the wheel. And you treat me like I'm just the event coordinator. You don't talk to me, you don't ask, you just make decisions and expect me to fund the whole circus. She laughed under her breath. You act like we're exploiting you. I turned to her. Aren't you? She looked at me then, like really looked, and I saw it, no apology, no guilt. Just annoyance. That's when something clicked. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. This was how she saw me. The guy who always makes it happen. The reliable husband with the big wallet and small opinions. I started the car. She didn't say a word the whole way home. And I didn't ask any more questions. Because I already knew the answers. The next morning, my phone rang while I was in the middle of trying to salvage a botched server migration. Unknown number. I usually don't pick those up, but I answered anyway. Ethan. Man, hey, it's Rick. I froze. My hand clenched around the mouse. Just wanted to say thanks, dude. I heard you're footing the bill for the Hawaii trip. Real generous of you. Appreciate you letting us all crash on your dime. He said it like we were old pals. Like I'd invited him. I didn't even answer. Just hung up. I sat there for a second, staring at my screen, heartbeat climbing. My inbox was full. My calendar was packed. But all I could see was his smug voice in my head, twisting the knife. Letting us all crash on your dime. I closed the laptop. Couldn't think. Couldn't work. I leaned back in my chair, hands behind my head, and stared at the ceiling like maybe the answers would be up there. But there weren't any. Just the truth I didn't want to admit. They were all using me. Every single one of them. Sarah, with her sweet little just one more guest voice. Gail calling me the bank like it was cute. Danny, who hadn't paid for a single meal in 2 years. Even Sarah's friends were coming along now, acting like it was owed to them. I looked at the trip spreadsheet on my screen. Flights, rooms, tours, restaurants. Color-coded. Shared with everyone. I planned it to the minute. And for what? Not one of them had offered to help. Not even Sarah. I clicked over to my banking app. Watched the balance drop. Thousands gone. All for a vacation I didn't want with people I didn't like, including 2 of my wife's exes. I was done. Done pretending this was about family. Done pretending Sarah gave a damn about how I felt. I grabbed my coffee, walked back into my office, and stared at the wall. I didn't need another argument. I didn't need one more fake apology. I needed out. Not from the house. Not just the trip. From them. From being the guy who kept the machine running while everyone else sat back and enjoyed the ride. This vacation wasn't mine anymore. It was a performance. I was just the stage crew. And I'd had enough. I sat back down, opened my laptop, and started drafting something I'd never thought I'd write. Not an itinerary. Not a payment plan. Something permanent. A way out. That night, Sarah came at me hard. She walked into my office around 10, arms crossed, already pissed. Why are you being so cold lately? I didn't look up from my screen. You really want to do this right now? Yes, I do. She stepped closer. You've been sulking like a child ever since dinner at Mom's. Are you seriously going to ruin this trip over a couple of names on the guest list? I spun in my chair and faced her. You mean Rick and David, your exes. Let's not pretend we're talking about a couple of names. She rolled her eyes. God, Ethan, not this again. No, I snapped. We are doing this again. You've added people without telling me. Ignored every concern I brought up. And now I'm supposed to just smile through a week in paradise while the woman I married treats me like a credit card with legs. Stop being dramatic. I stood up. You pushed me too far. She paused. What does that mean? But I was already done talking. I sat back down, opened my email and pulled up every single reservation I'd made: flights, hotel, boat tours, rental vans. I hit cancel. One by one. No second guessing. Flight confirmation, canceled. Vacation rental, gone. Dinner luau for 20, goodbye. Snorkeling adventure Gail was so damn excited about, poof. Then I opened a new email. Subject line, trips off. Body, I've canceled everything. Enjoy your time. I sent it to Sarah, Gail, Danny, and the rest of the freeloading circus. Then I shut my laptop, stood up, and took a long breath that felt like the first real one I'd had in weeks. Sarah's phone buzzed seconds later. She stared at it, then looked up at me, stunned. You're kidding. No, I said. I'm not. Her voice cracked. You canceled the whole trip? Yeah. Are you insane? No, I'm finally sane. She stormed out, muttering something about calling her mom. I didn't care. I went right back to my desk, opened a new tab, and typed in the one word that had been sitting in the back of my mind for days. Switzerland. Found a quiet little village in the Alps. Booked a one-way ticket. Rented a chalet. Simple, peaceful, quiet. No guests, no in-laws, no chaos. Just me. The next morning, my phone lit up. Sarah, calling. I let it ring once before picking up. What the hell did you do? She yelled. Everyone's freaking out. Mom's livid. You've embarrassed me. I leaned back in my chair. Calm. Still. I made a decision, I said. You ruined everything. No, I said. You did. I just stopped cleaning it up. And I hung up. By sunrise, my phone was already lighting up like a fire alarm. Sarah? Text. 6:41 a.m. Unbelievable. You're selfish. You ruined this for everyone. Gail, voicemail. 6:58 a.m. Coward. That's what you are. A damn coward. Walking away from your wife and her family over a vacation? You need help, Ethan. I tossed the phone on the kitchen counter and poured coffee. No sugar this time. Didn't need it. The messages kept coming. Becky, text. This is childish. You could have just said you didn't want to go. Danny, text. Real cool move, bro. Everyone's talking about how nuts you are. Thought you were solid. Unknown number. Who cancels Hawaii? Seriously, what kind of man does that to his own wife? I scrolled, then closed the messages. All the same theme. Guilt, outrage, fake concern. Not one of them asked why. Not one asked how I was doing. Because they didn't care. They were mad that the machine finally stopped running. That the guy who always paid up, smiled through it, booked the tables and flights and vans, had finally pulled the plug. Sarah sent another message. Sarah, text. You don't just get to walk away like this. This isn't how a marriage works. You made a commitment. I stared at it for a second, then laughed. Because she was right. I had made a commitment. To her. To all of them. And they'd squeezed every last drop out of it. They loved the version of me who kept his mouth shut and his credit card open. That guy was their favorite. But the second I did something for me, I became the villain. Fine. Let them talk. Let Gail scream into her phone about disrespect. Let Sarah cry to her friends about how I snapped out of nowhere. They could paint the story however they wanted. I wasn't answering. I turned off notifications. Blocked half the numbers. Set my phone on Do Not Disturb. Then I opened my laptop again. Double-checked my flight to Switzerland. Booked a transfer from the airport to the chalet. Printed my confirmation. Sat there with the paper in my hand for a long moment. Peace. It was actually happening. They'd never understand why I had to do it. But that didn't matter anymore. Because for once, I wasn't waiting for permission. I was already gone. The plane took off just after midnight. I didn't check my phone. Didn't need to. The last thing I saw before switching it to airplane mode was Sarah's name sitting on my lock screen. I let it stay there. As the wheels left the ground, I closed my eyes and let my shoulders drop. No voices, no demands, no guilt. Just the hum of the jet engines and a row of strangers who didn't want anything from me. 10 hours later, I stepped off the plane in Zurich, caught a train heading south, and watched the mountains rise up like a clean slate. By that evening, I was in a quiet town called Andermatt. One main street, stone buildings, mountains so close they felt like they were guarding the place. I checked into a small guest house with creaky floors and a fireplace that didn't try to impress anybody. The owner, an older guy named Felix, handed me the key without small talk or a fake smile. "You stay long?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Depends how it feels." Felt right. The first few days I just walked. No plans. No phone calls. Just hiking trails, quiet cafes, and the sound of my own footsteps. Nobody asked what I did for a living. Nobody expected me to fix their problems. I was just some guy with a backpack and a heavy past. And that was enough. By the end of the week, I'd signed up for a local woodworking class. Met a few people who spoke just enough English to make a joke or two. One of them, an American expat named Julia, brought me homemade bread without asking anything in return. Caught me off guard. Back home, kindness always had strings. Out here, it just existed. The noise from New Jersey faded a little more each day. Fewer texts, fewer guilt bombs. Eventually, silence. I didn't miss them. I missed who I used to be before I became the fixer. The guy who did everything just to keep the peace. That guy's gone. And I'm not bringing him back.